Captain Martinez raised his hand. "Admiral, what are our objectives when they attack?" Turner looked around the room at the facts. The final battle began at the Nexus Prime, the capital system of the Galactic Council. Admiral Kevin Turner led a fleet of 300 human warships and 200 vessels from allied species toward the heart of Council power. The enemy was waiting. Over 1,000 Council ships formed defensive formations around their capital world. The massive space stations that protected Nexus Prime bristled with weapons that had kept the peace for centuries through fear and intimidation. "All ships, this is Admiral Turner," Kevin announced over the fleet communication system. "Today, we fight not for conquest, but for the right of all species to live free from tyranny." Captain Steve Martinez commanded the flagship Democracy, the SO's most advanced warship humanity had ever built. The ship was equipped with every technological breakthrough achieved during 25 years of exile. Its adaptive shields could withstand any known weapon. Its quantum armaments could penetrate any defense. "Admiral, the Council fleet is moving to intercept us," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos. "They're deploying in the standard Council battle formation." Kevin studied the enemy deployment. The Zorathi heavy battleships formed the center of their line. Vex Consortium cruisers protected the flanks. Smaller vessels from dozens of other species filled the gaps between larger ships. "They're fighting the last war," Kevin observed. "Deploy our forces in attack pattern Omega." The human and allied fleets split into smaller groups, each one moving at impossible speeds through space. The quantum engines developed during exile allowed maneuvers that confused enemy targeting systems. Chairman Vexthal watched the approaching battle from the command center of the Council's primary space station. His metallic face showed no emotion, but his glowing eyes revealed his inner fear. "How many ships do the humans have?" he asked his military advisor. 500 total, including their alien allies," replied General Kethvar, who had survived the earlier defeat at Greenfield. "We outnumber them 2-1. "Then why am I not confident of victory?" Vexthal asked. The answer came as the first human weapons struck the Council fleet. Quantum torpedoes passed through enemy shields as if they did not exist, striking vital systems with precision that seemed impossible. The human fighter squadrons, led by Colonel Amy Rodriguez, moved through the battle like deadly dancers. Their small ships avoided enemy fire while delivering devastating attacks on capital ships. "Alpha Wing, target the command vessel of the 3rd Zorathi Squadron," Amy ordered over her radio. "Beta Wing, suppress the defense platforms around the space station." Her pilots responded with the skill and courage of warriors who had grown up knowing they might have to fight for their freedom. Each fighter was equipped with weapons that could disable ships 100 times their size. On the surface of Nexus Prime, Colonel Danny Wright led 2,000 human ground forces in an assault on the Council chambers. These soldiers had been enhanced with Dr. Clark's genetic modifications, making them faster and stronger than any normal human. "Remember, we're not here to conquer," Danny told his troops as their transport ships entered the planet's atmosphere. "We're here to give the Council a choice." The landing was opposed by Council security forces, but the human soldiers moved with speed and precision that overwhelmed the defenders. Their armor incorporated adaptive shielding technology, making them nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons. In space, the battle continued to favor the human and allied forces. Captain Martinez watched as Council ships fell to their superior technology and tactics. "Their flagship is trying to escape," reported Lieutenant Colonel Santos. "Let them go," Martinez replied. "Our mission is not destruction, it's demonstration." The Council's military leadership was learning the same lesson that had been taught at Greenfield and in the Kepler system. Human technology had advanced beyond their ability to counter it. More importantly, human determination was unbreakable. "Admiral." Turner opened a communication channel to the Council fleet commander. This is Admiral Turner of the Human Colonial Alliance. You have fought bravely, but you cannot win this battle. Order your forces to stand down, and no more lives will be lost. The Council commander, a Zorathi admiral named Vethkar, appeared on Turner's screen. His reptilian features showed the strain of watching his fleet being systematically destroyed. "You are rebels and exiles," Vethkar growled. "The Council does not negotiate with criminals." "The Council exiled us," Turner replied calmly. "That means you gave up any authority over our actions. We are here to offer peace, not to seek revenge." On the planet's surface, Colonel writes, forces had reached the Council chambers. The massive building had been the center of galactic government for over 1,000 years. Today, it would witness something new. Ambassador Rachel Phillips walked through the corridors escorted by human soldiers. She was the daughter of Ambassador Frank Turner, who had defied the Council 25 years ago. Today, she would finish what her father had started. The Council chamber was filled with representatives from 47 species. They sat in their traditional seats, watching as human soldiers took positions around the room. None of the aliens moved to stop them. "Honored representatives," Rachel began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. "I am Ambassador Phillips of the Human Colonial Alliance. I come here not as a conqueror, but as a voice for peace." Chairman Vexthal rose from his central seat. "You have invaded our capital and destroyed our fleet. This is not peace." "You attacked our colonies first," Rachel replied. "We defended ourselves. Now we offer you something the Council has never offered others. We offer you choice." She activated a holographic projector that showed images from across human space. Thriving worlds where different species worked together as equals. Cities where human and alien children played together. Fleets where ships from many worlds served, side by side. "This is what we have built during our exile," Rachel said. "Not an empire based on fear, but a confederation based on cooperation." The chamber was silent as the representatives studied the images. Many had never seen such examples of genuine cooperation between species. "What do you want from us?" asked Representative Kayla of the Kepler Federation, who had traveled to Nexus, prime for this historic moment. "We want to share what we have learned," Rachel replied. "Our technology, our methods, our vision of a galaxy where all species can thrive together." She looked directly at Chairman Vexthal. "But we will only do this as equals, never again as subjects." In space, the remnants of the Council fleet had stopped fighting. Their commanders realized that continued resistance was pointless. Human technology was simply too advanced to overcome with conventional weapons. Admiral Turner addressed the defeated fleet. "Council vessels, you fought with honor for what you believed was right. We hold no grudges against soldiers who were following orders." He paused, allowing his words to reach every ship in both fleets. "Join us in building a better galaxy. Your experience and knowledge combined with our technology can create something neither of us could achieve alone." President Margaret Davis, now 75 years old but still commanding, arrived at Nexus Prime aboard the diplomatic vessel New Hope. She had led humanity through its darkest period and lived to see the dawn of a new age. The peace negotiations took place in the same chamber where Frank Turner had been exiled 25 years earlier. But this time, humanity spoke from a position of strength, not as supplicants. "The old council is finished," Davis told the assembled representatives. "You can continue to cling to a system based on dominance and fear, or you can help us build something new." She stood before the same podium where the exile decree had been pronounced decades ago. "We propose the creation of the Galactic Federation. Every species will have an equal voice. Technology will be shared for the benefit of all. No single group will dominate others." The debate continued for 3 days. Some species supported the human proposal immediately. Others required time to consider the implications. A few remained hostile to any change. On the fourth day, Chairman Vex Thul announced the Council's decision. The Galactic Council formally dissolves itself and accepts the proposal for a new Galactic Federation. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. 31 species supported the change. 12 voted against. 4 abstained. The galaxy had changed forever. 5 years later, Ambassador Phillips stood in the observation deck of Unity Station, the new capital of the Galactic Federation. The space station had been built cooperatively by human and alien engineers, combining the best technologies from dozens of worlds. Through the massive windows, she could see ships from across the galaxy coming and going. Human vessels worked. Alongside Zorathi cruisers that now bore Federation markings, Kepler Federation transports carried goods to former Council worlds that were rebuilding under the new system. Director Helen Martinez oversaw joint research projects that were solving problems no single species could address alone. Human biotechnology combined with Altarian mineral science was creating new possibilities for terraforming. Vex engineering merged with human quantum physics was producing faster-than-light communication systems that connected the entire galaxy. Children of multiple species at. 3 months had passed since Lisa Martinez walked out of the Galactic Council chamber. The aliens were learning that humans meant what they said. Across Council space, human colonies were disappearing. Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge of his ship, the cargo vessel New Dawn. Around him, his crew worked to coordinate the biggest moving operation in galactic history. Ryan had been a merchant captain for 15 years, but now he was leading something much more important. "Status report," Ryan called out. Lieutenant Kate Murphy checked her screens. "Last transport just cleared the atmosphere of Haven's Rest. All civilians are aboard. Industrial equipment is loaded. We're ready to jump." Ryan looked down at the planet below. Haven's Rest had been home to 2 million humans for 20 years. They had built cities and farms and factories. They had made the desert world into a garden. Now they were leaving it all behind. "What about the infrastructure?" Ryan asked. "All major equipment has been moved," Kate replied. "What we couldn't take, we destroyed. The fusion plants are offline. The mining equipment is gone. Even the topsoil from the farms is loaded onto cargo ships. This was the human way. If they had to leave, they would take everything valuable with them. The Council wanted human worlds, but they would get empty dirt and broken buildings." Ryan's communicator buzzed. The voice that came through was Admiral Sullivan from Earth. "Captain Brooks, how are you holding up out there?" "We're managing, sir," Ryan replied. "This is the 15th world we've evacuated this month. The crew is tired, but they know why we're doing this." "Any problems from Council forces?" "They keep sending ships to watch us, but they don't interfere. I think they're scared to start a fight while we're moving civilians." Admiral Sullivan was quiet for a moment. "Ryan, I need you to understand something. This isn't just about moving people. Every world you evacuate makes the Council weaker. Every factory you take away hurts their economy. You're fighting a war without firing a shot." Ryan had not thought of it that way, but the Admiral was right. Humans had built things all across Council space. They had run supply chains and managed trade routes. They had grown food and manufactured goods. Now all of that was gone. Down on Haven's Rest, the Krillian inspection team walked through empty streets. Commander Kralthok had expected to find humans hiding in their buildings. Instead, he found cities that looked like everyone had just vanished. The houses were clean and empty. The power was off. Even the gardens had been dug up and taken away. Kralthok had never seen anything like it. "Sir," one of his soldiers called out, "you need to see this." Kralthok followed the soldier to what had been a factory. Inside, the machinery was gone. The floor was clean. On the wall, someone had written a message in simple galactic standard. "You wanted us gone. We left. Good luck running this place. Without us." Kralthok felt a chill run down his spine. The Krillian Empire had been planning to take over human factories and use human workers, but there were no workers left and no factories to run. On another world called New Geneva, Dr. Amanda Foster worked in her mobile laboratory. The lab was built inside a cargo ship that could move quickly if Council forces showed up. Amanda was part of a secret project that few humans knew about. For 3 years, while diplomats had talked and traded, Amanda and her team had been mapping the galaxy. They had studied every alien world, every trade route, every military base. They had learned the secrets that the Council tried to hide. "How are we doing on the star charts?" Amanda asked her assistant, Dr. Tony Kim. "We've mapped 90% of Council space," Tony replied. "Every hyperlane, every resource deposit, every strategic location. We know more about their territory than they do." Amanda smiled. The aliens thought humans were simple explorers who stumbled around the galaxy by accident. They had no idea that humans were natural scouts who planned everything carefully. "What about the economic data?" Amanda asked. "That's the interesting part," Tony said, pulling up charts on his screen. "Look at this. The Council economy is much more fragile than they pretend. They depend on human supply chains for almost everything." The charts showed trade routes like a spiderweb across the galaxy. Humans were not the biggest traders, but they were the most reliable. They carried goods between worlds that hated each other. They managed logistics that other species found too boring. "Food production on ethereal worlds has dropped 30% since we left," Tony continued. "Manufacturing on Zeltharian planets is down 50%. They built their economy around using human workers and human transport." Amanda had suspected this, but seeing the numbers was still shocking. The powerful alien empires were not as strong as they looked. They had become dependent on the humans they treated like servants. Her communicator beeped with an encrypted message from Admiral Sullivan. Amanda read it quickly, then smiled. "Tony, pack everything up. We're moving to the next phase." "Where are we going?" "Somewhere the Council will never find us. Time to disappear completely." Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Human colonies that had existed for decades were vanishing overnight, not destroyed by enemy attack, but carefully dismantled and moved by their own people. The economic effects were immediate. On the Council homeworld of Nexus Prime, trade officials watched their screens in horror as shipping schedules collapsed. The humans had not just left their colonies, they had taken their entire merchant fleet with them. Councillor Vextar called an emergency meeting. The crystal chamber was filled with worried aliens trying to understand what was happening. "How bad is the damage?" Vextar asked the trade minister. "Worse than we thought," the minister replied. "Humans controlled 40% of intersector shipping. They managed 60% of food distribution to non-agricultural worlds. Without them, we have major supply shortages across the galaxy." Counselor A. Zephyra floated nervously in her chair. "This was not supposed to happen. The humans were supposed to accept our protection. They were supposed to be grateful for our guidance." "Well, they are not grateful," Mordak growled. "They are running away like cowards. When we find their new colonies, we will show them the cost of defying the Council." But that was the problem. No one could find the new human colonies. Human ships had been spotted at the edge of Council space, but they disappeared into the unknown, regions where no Council ship had ever traveled. High Counselor Vextar studied the reports coming in from across the galaxy. Every day brought news of more abandoned human settlements, more broken supply chains, more economic damage. The humans were not fighting a war in the traditional sense. They were fighting a war of withdrawal. "How many humans are left in Council space?" Vextar asked. "Less than 10% of the original population," the intelligence chief replied. "Maybe 50 million out of 500 million. Most of those are on Earth itself." "And Earth's status?" "Still officially neutral. They claim the colonial evacuations are an internal human matter. Ambassador Martinez has returned to Earth, but they have not appointed a replacement." Vexatar felt frustrated. The Council had expected the humans to fight or surrender. Instead, they had chosen a third option that no one had prepared for. They had simply left. On a transport ship heading toward the Outer Rim, Captain Ryan Brooks received another message from Admiral Sullivan. This one was different from the others. All evacuation fleets, new orders. You are to proceed to coordinates. That will be transmitted separately. Phase 2 is complete. Phase 3 begins now. Ryan wondered what Phase 3 involved. The evacuation had been Phase 2. He had not been told what Phase 1 was, but he could guess. Phase 1 had been 3 years of preparation while pretending to be weak. As his ship jumped into hyperspace carrying the last refugees from Haven's Rest, Ryan looked back at the planet they were leaving behind. The Council could have it, but they would find that owning empty worlds was not the same as controlling a living civilization. The aliens had wanted to rule humanity. Instead, they had learned what happened when you threatened a species that preferred freedom to safety. Humans had not surrendered, and they had not fought back with weapons. They had done something much worse. They had made themselves impossible to control by simply walking away. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had been holding back for 3 years. Now the gloves were coming off, and the real war was about to begin. 6 months after the human exodus began, strange reports started reaching the Galactic Council. Ships were appearing at the edges of Council space, but these were not the familiar human vessels that aliens had grown used to seeing. Commander Zach Tell of the Zeltharian Border Patrol was the first to encounter them. He was patrolling the outer systems when his sensors detected something that should not have been there. "Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, his sensor operator called out. "Range 3,000 kilometers and closing." Zach Tell looked at his screens but saw nothing. "Are you certain?" "I see empty space." "Positive contact, sir. Large vessel, unknown configuration." This was impossible. Zeltharian sensors were the best in the galaxy. They could detect a small asteroid from 1,000,000 kilometers away. Yet something was out there that they could barely track. "Hail the unknown vessel," Zach Tell ordered. The reply came immediately, spoken in perfect galactic standard with a human accent. "Zeltharian vessel, this is Colonel Maria Santos of the Earth Defense Force. You are in human territory now. Turn around and leave immediately." Zach Tell was confused. "There are no human territories in this sector. This is Council space." "Not anymore," the human voice replied. "Check your star charts. This system is now under Earth protection." Before Zach Tell could respond, his ship shook violently. Warning lights flashed across his bridge. His weapon systems went offline. His shields disappeared. His engines stopped working. "What is happening?" Zach Tell shouted. "Unknown energy weapon, sir," his engineer reported. "Our systems are being shut down one by one." Through his view screen, Zach Tell finally saw the human ship. It appeared slowly, like a ghost becoming solid. The vessel was long and angular, covered in black metal that seemed to absorb light. It looked nothing like the round, friendly human ships he remembered. "Zeltharian Commander," the human voice continued. "You have 30 seconds to prepare for boarding. Do not resist, and no one will be hurt." Zach Tell had no choice. His ship was powerless and drifting in space. Within minutes, human soldiers in black armor were walking through his corridors. They moved with military precision and carried weapons he had never seen before. The human who entered his bridge was a woman with short brown hair and cold blue eyes. She wore the uniform of an Earth colonel, but her equipment was clearly military grade. "I am Colonel Maria Santos," she said. "Your ship and crew are now prisoners of the Earth Defense Force." "This is an act of war," Zach Tell protested. "The Council will respond with force." Colonel Santos smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "The Council is welcome to try. We have been waiting for them." Similar encounters were happening across the border regions. Human ships appeared without warning, disabled Council vessels without damaging them, and captured the crews alive. No, one was killed, but the message was clear. Humans were no longer running away. On the captured Zeltharian ship, Captain Ben Rodriguez led the intelligence team that examined every piece of alien technology they found. Ben had been a computer expert before the war, but now he was learning to be a spy. "What do you make of their systems?" Colonel Santos asked. "Impressive, but predictable," Ben replied. "They rely heavily on energy shields and plasma weapons. Their computer networks are advanced but vulnerable to certain types of interference." Ben's team had been studying captured Council technology for months. They had learned that alien ships were built for battles between honorable enemies who followed the same rules. Human ships were built for war against anyone, using any method that worked. "Their weakness is that they expect fair fights," Ben continued. "They have protocols and traditions. We have advantages they do not know how to counter." The greatest advantage was stealth technology that the Council had never developed. While aliens built bigger guns and stronger shields, humans had learned to be invisible. Human ships could appear anywhere without warning, but the real surprise was still coming. Deep in the hidden research stations that humans had built beyond the galaxy's edge, Dr. Helen Wright was making a discovery that would change everything. Helen had been studying quantum physics for 20 years. She was small and quiet, but her mind was one of the sharpest in human space. While soldiers fought at the borders, Helen fought with mathematics and science. "I think I found something," Helen told her research partner, Dr. Carl Jackson. Carl looked up from his own work. "What kind of something?" "The Council's technology has a common frequency," Helen explained, showing him complex equations on her screen. "All their ships, all their weapons, all their computers operate on the same quantum band." Carl studied the data. "That seems efficient. Standardized technology across multiple species." "It is efficient," Helen agreed, "but it is also vulnerable. If we can disrupt that frequency, we can shut down any Council system without firing a shot." The implications were huge. Every Council ship, every alien weapon, every piece of their technology could be turned off like a light switch. The powerful alien empires would be helpless. "How long to build a working device?" Carl asked. "Already done," Helen said, pointing to a small metal box on her workbench. "I tested it on captured Council equipment. One pulse from this device, and their entire ship goes dead." News of Helen's discovery reached Admiral Sullivan within hours. He immediately ordered the device to be mass-produced and installed on every human warship. The war was about to change dramatically. Meanwhile, the Council was panicking. Reports of human attacks were coming in from dozens of border systems. But these were not normal attacks. The humans were not destroying things or conquering territory. They were capturing everything and everyone. High Counselor Vex Tar called an emergency War Council meeting. The chamber was filled with military commanders from all 7 Council species. "What is our current status?" Vexitar demanded. General Korthak of the Krillian fleet spoke first. "We have lost contact with 40 border stations, all ships sent to investigate have disappeared." "Disappeared?" Counselor Zephyra asked. "You mean destroyed?" "We mean disappeared," Admiral Veltar of the Zeltharian Navy replied. "No wreckage. No distress calls. The ships are simply gone." This was terrifying news. The Council had the largest military force in the galaxy. Their fleets had kept peace for 3,000 years. Yet somehow, humans were making their ships vanish, without a trace. "How is this possible?" Mordak growled. "Humans have primitive technology. Their ships are small and weak." "Apparently not," General Korthak replied grimly. "Intelligence reports suggest they have developed new weapons and defenses while pretending to be peaceful traders." The truth was worse than they realized. For 3 years, humans had been studying every Council ship that docked at human stations. They had learned alien technology from the inside, while the aliens learned nothing about human capabilities. Admiral Jake Sullivan received the intelligence reports with satisfaction. The enemy was confused and scared, exactly where he wanted them. But the real test was still coming. "Colonel Santos," Sullivan said during their encrypted communication, How are your people holding up? Morale is excellent, sir, Maria replied from her command ship. The crews understand what we are fighting for. No one wants to see human children in alien schools. Good, because Phase 4 begins tomorrow. We are about to show the Council what human warfare really looks like. What are the orders, sir? Total information warfare. We are going to take apart their communications network piece by piece. By the time we are finished, the Council members will not be able to talk to each other. Maria smiled. The humans had been playing defense for 6 months, evacuating colonies and avoiding major battles. Now they were going on the attack, and the aliens had no idea what was coming. That night, Dr. Helen Wright's quantum disruptors were loaded onto human ships across the fleet. The devices were small and simple, but they would give humans power over any Council vessel they encountered. The war had entered a new phase. Humans were no longer content to run and hide. They were ready to show the galaxy what happened when a species was pushed too far. The Council had wanted to control humanity through fear and threats. They were about to learn that humans responded to fear by becoming dangerous, and when humans became dangerous, they did not stop until the threat was completely eliminated. The aliens had started this conflict by demanding surrender. They were about to discover that humans did not know how to surrender. They only knew how to win. 1 year after humanity abandoned diplomacy, the Galactic Council was falling apart. Member worlds were in chaos as their supply systems collapsed and mysterious human attacks continued across the border regions. High Counselor Vextar stood before a holographic display showing the current state of Council space. Red markers indicated systems where human ships had been spotted. Yellow markers showed worlds suffering from economic problems. The map was mostly red and yellow now. This cannot continue, Vextar announced to the emergency assembly. The humans are destroying galactic civilization. We must take decisive action. Counselor Mordak slammed his armored fist on the table. I agree. The Krillian Empire offers 1 million warriors for a final assault on human territory. We will crush them once and for all. The Ethereal Collective pledges our entire battle fleet, Zephyra added. 2,000 ships with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. Other Council members made similar promises. Within hours, they had assembled the largest military force in galactic history. Over 10,000 ships from 7 different species, carrying weapons that could destroy entire planets. The plan was simple. Intelligence reports suggested that humans had built secret bases in the Dark Nebula region beyond known space. The Great Fleet would enter the nebula, find the human strongholds, and destroy them completely. Admiral Vorthek of the Combined Council Forces was confident. Humans may have new technology, but they cannot stand against the combined might of 7 empires. This war ends now. Unknown to the Council, every word of their planning session was being monitored. On the hidden human base called Sanctuary, Admiral Alex Turner watched the alien preparations with grim satisfaction. They are doing exactly what we expected, Alex told his staff. Gathering their entire fleet in one location, planning to attack our supposed home base. Captain Nancy Price, his intelligence chief, smiled. Do they have any idea this is a trap? None at all. They still think like politicians instead of warriors. They believe overwhelming force can solve any problem. Alex had been preparing for this moment for months. Sanctuary was not humanity's main base. It was bait. The real human fleet was hidden in locations the Council would never find. How many ships are they bringing? Alex asked. Latest count shows 10,400 vessels, Nancy replied. Every major warship in Council space. Perfect. Signal the other fleets. Operation Mousetrap is go. The Great Fleet assembled at the edge of the Dark Nebula like a metal storm cloud. Ships from 7 species formed battle groups that stretched for millions of kilometers. It was the most beautiful and terrifying sight in galactic history, Admiral. Vorthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Zeltharian dreadnought Infinite Justice. Around him, Holographic displays showed the positions of every ship in the massive fleet. "All units, prepare to enter the nebula," Vorthak commanded. "Maintain formation and watch for human tricks." The dark nebula was a region of space filled with gas clouds and electromagnetic storms that made sensors unreliable. It was the perfect place for humans to hide, but it would also make their ships vulnerable to surprise attack. As the great fleet moved into the nebula, strange things began to happen. Ships started reporting system malfunctions. Communications became unclear. Navigation equipment gave false readings. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "I'm receiving reports of technical problems across the fleet." "What kind of problems?" Vorthak asked. "Power fluctuations, sir. Weapon systems going offline. Shield generators failing." This was concerning, but not unexpected. The nebula's electromagnetic fields could interfere with ship systems. Vorthak ordered all vessels to continue the mission. What the Admiral did not know was that every ship in his fleet was being sabotaged from within. Years earlier, during the diplomatic period, human technicians had serviced alien vessels at human space stations. They had installed tiny devices that lay dormant until activated by remote signal. Captain Nancy Price gave the activation command from her position on Sanctuary. Across the Great Fleet, thousands of microscopic machines came to life inside Council. Ships. "Nanoscale sabotage devices are active," Nancy reported to Admiral Turner. "Every ship in their fleet is now compromised." The nanomachines did not destroy the alien ships. Instead, they slowly disrupted critical systems. Weapons became unreliable. Shields flickered on and off. Communications equipment produced static instead of clear signals. Admiral Vorthak became increasingly worried as more reports came in. "Status of the fleet?" 60% of vessels reporting technical malfunctions, his aide replied. "Engineering teams cannot identify the source of the problems." "Are we under attack?" "No enemy ships detected, sir. Our sensors show empty space in all directions." But the sensors were wrong. Hidden throughout the nebula, human ships waited in perfect silence. Their stealth technology made them invisible to Council detection systems. They watched and waited as the great fleet stumbled deeper into the trap. Admiral Turner decided it was time to spring the trap completely. He activated Dr. Helen Wright's quantum disruptor on full power. The effect was immediate and devastating. Every Council ship in the nebula lost power at the same moment. Lights went out, engines stopped, weapons went offline. Life support systems switched to emergency backup. 10,000 ships, the pride of 7 empires, drifted helplessly in space like dead metal. "What happened?" Admiral Vorthak shouted in the darkness of his bridge. Emergency lighting came on, casting eerie shadows across the command center. His crew worked frantically to restore main power, but nothing responded. "Sir," his chief engineer reported, "all primary systems are offline. It appears to be some kind of energy weapon that shut down our quantum core." Vorthak felt ice in his stomach. "Can we restore power?" "Not quickly, sir. This will take hours to repair, maybe days." Across the Great Fleet, similar scenes played out on thousands of ships. The most powerful military force in galactic history had been reduced to helpless targets in a matter of seconds. That was when Admiral Turner made his broadcast. His image appeared on every working screen throughout the disabled Council fleet. "I am Admiral Alex Turner of the Earth Defense Force," he began. "Your fleet is now completely at our mercy. Your weapons are offline. Your shields are down. Your ships cannot move." Admiral Vorthak stared at the human face on his emergency screen. Turner looked calm and confident, like a teacher addressing students. "You came here to destroy us," Turner continued. "You brought the combined might of 7 civilizations to crush one small species that only wanted to be left alone. Now you see what dangerous actually looks like." Around the disabled Council fleet, human ships began to appear. They materialized. From the nebula like ghosts becoming solid. Hundreds of sleek black vessels surrounded the helpless alien armada. "We could destroy every one of your ships right now," Turner said. 10,000 vessels and millions of crew members. The entire Council military leadership wiped out in one battle. Vorthak realized he was looking at the end of galactic civilization. If the humans destroyed the Great Fleet, the Council would collapse and chaos would spread across the galaxy. "But we are not conquerors," Turner continued. "We are not murderers. We are defenders who were pushed too far. You threatened our children. You tried to steal our freedom. You forced us to show you what we are capable of when we stopped being polite." The Admiral paused, letting his words sink in across thousands of disabled ships. "Here is what happens next. Your fleet will be escorted out of this region. Your ships will be repaired enough to return home safely. But first, you will listen to our terms for ending this war." Admiral Vorthak felt relief and fear at the same time. The humans were offering mercy, but what would they demand in return? "The Galactic Council will be reformed," Turner announced. "Humanity will have permanent membership with full voting rights. The expansion protocols will be abolished. No species will be subject to protective oversight without their consent. Trade regulations will apply equally to all members." These were not the demands of a conquering army. They were the requests that human diplomats had been making for 3 years. "You see us as aggressive," Turner said. "But aggression and capability are different things. We tried diplomacy. We accepted unfair treatment. We hoped for peaceful cooperation. You responded with threats and ultimatums." The human admiral's expression grew hard. "Now you know what humans do when diplomacy fails. We do not surrender. We do not accept oppression. We become dangerous enough that no one dares to threaten us again." Admiral Vorthak understood now. The humans had not been weak during the diplomatic years. They had been gathering strength while appearing harmless. Every insult, every unfair treaty, every threat had been carefully recorded and prepared for. "The choice is yours," Turner concluded. "Accept our terms and build a galaxy based on equality instead of fear. Or continue this war and discover what other capabilities humanity has been hiding." The broadcast ended, leaving the Council fleet drifting in darkness. Around them, human ships waited patiently for an answer. Admiral Vorthak looked at his disabled fleet and made the only choice that made sense. He activated his emergency communicator and sent a message to the Galactic Council on Nexus Prime. "Council Command, this is Admiral Vorthak. The Great Fleet has been defeated. Recommend immediate acceptance of human terms. The war is over." The most powerful Milita. 3 weeks after the Great Fleet's defeat in the Dark Nebula, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. The crystal walls still glowed with soft light, but the arrangement of seats had changed completely. Ambassador Lisa Martinez walked into the chamber she had left in anger 1 year earlier. This time, she did not sit at the small table reserved for junior members. She took her place at the head of the great circular table, in the chair reserved for the council president. The other council members watched her with a mixture of fear and respect. High Counselor Vextar, once the most powerful being in the galaxy, sat quietly in what had been humanity's old seat. The positions had been reversed completely. "The Galactic Council is now in session," Lisa announced. "First order of business is the formal ratification of the new Galactic Accords." The Accords were the peace treaty that ended the human war. But they were more than just a treaty. They were a complete restructuring of galactic civilization. Counselor Zephyra of the Ethereal Collective spoke first. "The Collective formally accepts all terms of the Accords. We apologize for our previous treatment of humanity and pledge to honor the new system." Similar statements came from the other council members. They had no choice. Their fleets were scattered, their economies were broken, and their populations were demanding answers about how the war had been lost so quickly. "The Council recognizes the Earth Federation as a founding member with permanent veto power over all decisions," Lisa continued. "The expansion protocols are hereby abolished. No species may be placed under protective oversight without freely given consent." These were the changes that humans had requested during 3 years of diplomatic talks. The aliens had refused then, calling the demands unreasonable. Now the same demands had become law. But the real changes went deeper than politics. Dr. Amanda Foster, now serving as Chief Science Advisor to the Council, presented her report on the galaxy's economic situation. For the past year, we have conducted a complete analysis of galactic trade and resource management, Amanda said. Our findings show that the old system was both inefficient and unfair. She activated a holographic display that showed trade routes across the galaxy like glowing threads. Under the previous system, 70% of trade was controlled by 3 species. This created artificial scarcities and prevented developing worlds from accessing resources they needed. Councillor Mordak of the Krillian Empire looked uncomfortable. His people had grown rich by controlling the flow of rare metals between systems. The new system will be based on open trade and fair pricing, Amanda continued. All species will have equal access to galactic markets. Monopolies and artificial restrictions are banned. This was revolutionary. For thousands of years, the powerful species had maintained control by limiting what younger civilizations could buy or sell. Now every world would compete on equal terms. Admiral Jake Sullivan, attending as Earth's military representative, addressed the security situation. The new Council Defense Force will be commanded by representatives from all member species. No single race will control galactic peacekeeping. This was another major change. Previously, Council forces had been dominated by Zeltharian and Krillian, officers who saw their job as maintaining the old order. The new force would protect all species equally. What about the human fleets? Admiral Vorthak asked nervously. Will they be integrated into the Council forces? Sullivan smiled. Human ships will participate in joint operations and training, exercises. But Earth maintains the right to independent defense. We learned the importance of that lesson this past year. The message was clear. Humans would work with the Council, but they would never again depend on alien protection. They had proven they could defend themselves against anyone. High Counselor Vexitar finally spoke. Ambassador Martinez, I must ask about the human technologies demonstrated during the war. The stealth systems, the quantum disruptors, the sabotage devices. Will these be shared with Council forces? Lisa considered the question carefully. Some technologies will be shared to help maintain galactic peace. Others will remain under Earth control. Trust is earned over time, Counselor. We are willing to start building that trust. This was diplomacy, but diplomacy from a position of strength. The aliens now knew that humans possessed weapons that could cripple any fleet in the galaxy. They would think twice before threatening humanity again. Captain Ryan Brooks, who had led the Great Evacuation, now managed the return of human colonies to their original worlds. But these were not the same settlements that had been abandoned a year earlier. Haven's Rest is ready for recolonization, Ryan reported during a staff meeting. The new facilities are more advanced than what we left behind. We learned a lot during our time in exile. Dr. Tony Kim, Amanda's former assistant, looked at the construction plans. These defensive systems are impressive. Surface-to-space missile batteries, shield generators, early warning sensors. No one will be able to threaten these colonies again. This was another change. The old human colonies had been peaceful farming and mining settlements. The new ones were fortified positions that could defend themselves against any attack. But the most important changes were happening in the schools and universities across the galaxy. Human educators were working with alien teachers to create new curriculums that taught real history instead of Council propaganda. Dr. Carl Jackson, Helen, Wright's research partner, now ran the Galaxy University Exchange Program. For the first time in centuries, students from all species are learning together as equals, he reported. Young Krillians and Zeltharians are studying human philosophy. Human children are learning alien languages and customs. This was how lasting peace would be built, not through fear or control, but through understanding and cooperation between equals. The final scene of humanity's transformation from diplomatic victims to galactic leaders took place on a space station called Unity Station. The station orbited the border between human and Zeltharian space, serving as a symbol of the new cooperation. Children from dozen different species played together in the station's recreation areas. Human kids taught alien friends how to play baseball. Ethereal youngsters showed humans how to create pictures with pure thought. Krillian children and human children worked together on science projects. Admiral Turner, now retired from military service, watched the children play and smiled. "This is what we were fighting for," he told Captain Nancy Price, who had joined him for the ceremony. "Think it will last?" Nancy asked. "It better," Turner replied, "because those kids don't see each other as different species. They see each other as friends. That generation will build a galaxy where wars like ours never happen again." Lisa Martinez gave the final speech at Unity Station's dedication ceremony. Representatives from every council species attended, along with thousands of beings watching by hologram across the galaxy. "1 year ago, humanity walked away from a system that treated us as children who needed guidance," Lisa said. "We were told we were too aggressive for self-governance, too primitive for full membership, too dangerous for independence." She paused, looking out at the mixed crowd of humans and aliens. "We proved those claims wrong by showing what humans do when we are truly threatened. We do not surrender. We do not accept oppression. We adapt, we overcome, and we win. But victory without mercy is just another form of tyranny." The audience listened in respectful silence. Today we begin a new chapter in galactic history. 1. Based on equality instead of hierarchy. 1 built on cooperation instead of fear. 1 where every species has the right to determine its own future. As the ceremony ended and beings from across the galaxy returned to their homes, the transformation was complete. Humanity had gone from diplomatic outcasts to galactic leaders in just 1 year. The Council had panicked when humanity abandoned diplomacy. They had expected either surrender or destruction. Instead, they had discovered that humans fighting for their freedom and their children were the most dangerous force in the galaxy. But they had also learned that humans fighting for justice and equality were the most powerful force for peace. The galaxy was stronger now, built on respect instead of fear. The war was over. The real work of building a better galaxy was just beginning. And humanity would be there to make sure it was done right, because that was what humans did when they stopped being polite and started being honest. The galaxy had learned to respect humanity's strength. Now it would learn to appreciate humanity's wisdom, and the children playing together on Unity Station would inherit a galaxy where such lessons would never need to be taught again through war.